Good evening. Welcome to Solihull College and University Centre. My name's Andy Schneider. I'm the Head of Science here at the college. Joining me this evening is Fabio Lorenzini, who's our course leader in the Forensic and Criminal Investigations programme. So thank you for joining us.
Stand out from the crowd and be inspired to step onto the shoulders of giants, building on the scientific discoveries that have been made before you. Develop a range of practical and academic skills in the fields of medical science, organic chemistry, microbiology, radiography, physiology, and chemical analysis in brand new industry standard laboratories designed alongside NHS trusts. Our tutors will help you learn the skills needed to progress onto university or into employment in a range of fascinating careers. You can even progress onto your applied biosciences degree right here at the college. Discover your future at Solihull College and University Centre.
Okay, so that little video you've just seen there is for the School of Science. In the School of Science, we now have a Forensic and Investigation programme, which started just over a year ago. We don't yet have an up-to-date video showing off that course to the highest of its calibre, but hopefully some of the content of the course is portrayed within that video you've just seen. So the purpose of this evening is to go through what the School of Science offers in terms of the curriculum. So we'll cover the whole of the curriculum area as an overview. Then we'll talk to you specifically about what you can expect from the Forensic and Criminal Investigation programme. At the end of the presentation, there's an opportunity for us to answer some of the questions you might have. So please, while the presentation is going on, if you've got questions that come to mind, please add them to the question and answer button that's part of the Zoom facility you've got this evening. I like to start off these presentations by sharing the college's mission statement. This is a single sentence that tells everybody why the college is here. And there's one word within that mission statement that really captures what we do here in the college, and it's the word vocational. And the word vocational means that the qualifications we offer don't purely promote the academic skills that are needed for success long term. They also relate to job roles.
Wondering what to study next year? Some people think the only way to get into university or secure a good job is to study A-levels. They're wrong. We're here to set the record straight. But first, what's the difference between BTECs and A-levels? The way the courses are designed is different. Solihull College and University Centre's BTEC courses are designed with employment in mind. We speak directly to top employers to ensure our qualifications are tailored to what the industry needs. Students finish with the exact skills necessary to work in their chosen industries. Also, the way the courses are assessed is different. BTEC qualifications are assessed largely through coursework and practical projects, whereas A-levels rely purely on exams. 100% exams isn't for everybody. How would you rather study? Worried about getting into university with a BTEC? Don't be. Level 3 extended BTEC courses are the equivalent to 3 A-levels. 95% of higher education institutions in the UK accept BTEC students, including top universities from the Russell Group. The number of A-level students achieving ABB has fallen by 2,500 over the last year. But the number of BTEC students achieving the equivalent has grown by 16%. Over 100,000 BTEC students apply to university every year, and the number is rising. But that's enough statistics. If you want to find out more about the qualifications Solihull College and University Centre offer and the careers they can lead to, come and chat with us at an open day or visit www.solihull.ac.uk.
Okay, so this image here shows the full curriculum offer that we have in the School of Science. So on the left-hand side, you can see the traditional qualifications that you might recognise, so GCSEs and A-levels. We refer to those as being level 2 and level 3 courses. And then you can see within the school what we offer at each of those levels. So we have a level 2 study programme in applied science, and we have 2 level 3 study programmes, one in applied science and the one we're going to talk about a bit more this evening, our Forensic and Criminal Investigations programme of study. We also have our own degree programme within the area called an Applied Biosciences BSc Honours degree. There's a top-up degree for a foundation degree that we also offer within the school. The majority of our level 3 students, when they finish our programmes, move into university at external universities. We're really fortunate in the School of Science to have some amazing facilities that unfortunately we can't come and visit at the moment, but hopefully some of the images you'll see within this presentation will show off some of the things that we are able to offer. We had £250,000 spent purely on the Life Science Laboratory, which was built for our higher education offer. We had £750,000 spent on the refurbishment of our teaching laboratories and classrooms within the School of Science. Our traditional programme of study in science is a level 3 programme of study with 3 different pathways in applied science, biomedical science and forensic and analytical science. And for those students that want to go into laboratory science long term, this is a really good choice of programme at this stage in your education. Our science programmes are one of 3 different pathways. Everybody does the same pathway in year 1, and they do the common units. And in the second year, you can choose the optional units for one of those 3 pathways, which is illustrated. This is the programme we're going to talk more about this evening, and it's our Forensic and Criminal Investigations programme, which is a really exciting, what I call a hybrid programme. So it brings in a number of different subject areas. So we start off with the applied science qualifications. So the units you do are very similar to the ones we have on our science programme. But then during the first year, we also bring in some forensic investigations. In the second year, we move away from some of the more traditional sciences. There's a little bit of science that's maintained. We then bring in the criminology and social sciences in the second year. All of our level 3 programmes of study include the requirement to do a 30-hour work placement in each year of the programme. And if you're not yet at a grade 4 or higher in English or mathematics GCSE, you'll be required to study that alongside your level 3 programme if you've been accepted on this programme. The first year of our Forensic and Criminal Investigation programme is purely called Forensic Investigations. At the second year, the word criminal gets involved in the title, and that's really to reflect the criminology and social science elements that are introduced at that stage of the course. Everybody does a foundation diploma in the first year, and if you're successful and you want to continue your study, you then come back and re-enroll on the second year of the programme, which we then call the extended diploma. For both years of this qualification, we have both external assessment and internal assessment. The external assessments are a combination of exams and controlled coursework, and the internal assessments for the remaining units are coursework assessed through assignments that are given to you by your tutors and marked by your tutors and quality assured by the awarding body. And we try to, as much as possible, make those assignments vocationally specific and based around work-based scenarios related to the qualification that you're studying. Sometimes students will apply for a level 3 programme of study, and for a whole host of different reasons, they don't quite get the grades to be able to do a level 3 science programme or forensic investigation programme. In that case, we suggest that students study a level 2 programme of study in applied science first. And this allows essentially students to do a 1-year resit package. So they do 2 BTEC qualifications, each worth 1 GCSE in science, with the opportunity to resit English and Math GCSE alongside it. So those qualifications all put together essentially provides the 4 GCSE equivalent needed to be able to come onto a level 3 programme in this curriculum area. The level 2 programme is also assessed through a combination of external assessment and internal coursework. There's a slightly lower percentage of the overall qualification that's controlled by the exams, with 6 of our units internally assessed. The entry requirements for our level 3 programmes are 4 GCSEs grade 4 or higher in English, Maths and double award science, or if you've done triple award science, grade 4 in each of those. You'd also be expected to undertake an interview. We'll ask you for a reference from your school, and occasionally students are asked to do a diagnostic assessment if the qualifications they're bringing in don't necessarily reflect the skills that they feel they have. So sometimes we can do an assessment to find out whether that is the case or not. For students not yet ready to do a level 3 study programme, we have the level 2 study programme, and the entry requirements of that are essentially 1 grade lower in each of those subjects. So if you've got grades 3 in English, Maths and double award science, we would suggest you did a level 2 study program before progressing into level 3 the following year. I'm now going to pass you over to Fabio Lorenzini, who's our course leader for forensic investigation.
Thank you, Andy. Hello, everyone. So I would like to introduce you to our forensic and criminal investigation course by telling you one of the most famous forensic stories, the Napoleon case. Before that, just let me quickly introduce you to our team. Oli, Balbindar, and myself will be taking care of your science. Emma, in the second year, will be delivering a unit fully focused on forensic photography. Sarah, she's our psychology and criminology expert, and she will be delivering 3 units on those subjects in the second year. Finally, Rich from the West Midlands Police will be our expert on crime scene and any issue related to forensic and criminal investigation. So, I'm sure most of you know who Napoleon was. He was a French emperor ruling Europe in the early 19th century. His luck came to an end in 1815 when he lost to the British in the famous Battle of Waterloo. And straight after that, the British decided to exile him. And after a long journey through a few very beautiful places all over the world, he ended up in this island in the middle of nothing in the Atlantic Ocean called St. Helena. And this is our crime scene, okay? Because that's where in 1821, 6 years after, Napoleon died. More exactly, the crime scene is Napoleon's house. That's where he lived, again, his last 6 years of his life. And that's basically the only touristic attraction in St. Helena. And I'm mentioning this because it's just a visit of a tourist that eventually helped solving this forensic case around 150 years after Napoleon's death. So more precisely, even more precisely, the crime scene is Napoleon's bedroom. For long, it was thought that Napoleon had been murdered. So there will be plenty of people back home in France, let alone in Britain, that would have liked to see him dead. But how was it possible to prove that he had been killed? So that was thanks to the great forensic CSI skills of all those guys that you see sitting and standing around Napoleon's in his last few hours of his life. So there was a habit back in those days to collect samples of famous people's hair straight after their death. So you can imagine all these guys ready with a pair of scissors to cut Napoleon's hair as soon as he will die. So Napoleon's sample of hair, that will be your crime scene evidence. And you guys will be practicing a lot on crime scene evidence in a few units across the 2 years. So Unit 4 and Unit 11, for example, in the first year, and Unit 12 in the second year. And all the way Rich, again, from the West Midlands Police, will be sharing with you guys his expertise in crime scene collection and filing and all issues related to anything regarding crime scenes. So how that crime scene evidence, Napoleon's hair, helped to solve the Napoleon's case. So that was thanks to a forensic scientist that around 130 years after Napoleon's death managed to bring a sample of Napoleon's hair in his own forensic lab. So he ran his own forensic analysis and he found out that there was plenty of arsenic in Napoleon's hair. Okay, And I'm sure you are aware that arsenic is a very powerful poisoning agent. You may have heard of that in Sherlock Holmes stories or maybe in Agatha Christie's books. So it seemed like the Napoleon's case had been solved. Okay, Napoleon seemed to have been killed by somebody who had poisoned him with arsenic. And by the way, this just gives me the chance to share with you that you guys will be doing quite a lot of science with us, just because you need science to become good CSIs and good forensic scientists. So for example, arsenic, you'll be learning everything about it. It's an element in the 5th group and 4th period of the periodic table. You'll be able to learn all its properties, including the very compound that eventually killed Napoleon. And we'll be talking about that in a couple of minutes' time. This is just an example across the 2 years. Okay, you'll go through lots of units on theoretical and practical science. So you'll be learning all the skills, the investigation skills that you need, again, to become a good CSI and a good forensic scientist. But let's go back to our crime scene, because as I mentioned at the beginning, the first finding regarding the Napoleon's case was achieved thanks to the skills of these guys attending the last few hours of Napoleon's that I mentioned. And as I said, fantastic CSI skills. But if you asked Rich, he would tell you that according to today's standards, you should rather judge them as quite lazy CSIs. Because in a crime scene, you should not ignore anything. Everything should be considered to be important and possibly crucial to the solution of the following forensic and criminal investigation. But I'm sure none of you, surely I wouldn't have thought that the solution of Napoleon's case would have been in the color of his bedroom wallpaper. However, 30 years after the finding of the previous forensic scientist, another forensic scientist, got obsessed with the color of Napoleon's wallpaper. And so in a radio show, this guy, this forensic scientist called Dr. Jones, asked, in this radio show where the Napoleon's case was being discussed, this very question: what was the color of Napoleon's wallpaper? And he got lucky, because the tourist that I mentioned at the beginning of the story, not only he knew the color of Napoleon's wallpaper, but he actually had taken a piece of the wallpaper when he visited Napoleon's bedroom. And as I said, Dr. Jones got very, very lucky, because he not only he got to know that the color of Napoleon's wallpaper was what he expected to be, green, but he managed to bring the sample of the wallpaper in his forensic lab, ran the analysis, the forensic analysis, to find out that the pigment that gave the wallpaper that color, green, was this compound of copper and arsenic, copper arsenite. And again, you guys will be able to work on these kind of compounds, and you'll be able actually to predict their properties, and you'll be able to predict also their reactivities. For example, the reactivity of a compound like this with water. I'm sure you haven't forgotten that Napoleon's house was in this island in the middle of the ocean. In the middle of the ocean means lots of moisture. Moisture means water. So water will be reacting with copper arsenide to produce one of the most powerful poisoning agent you can think of, called arsine, a gas, which will be then produced all the time, day by day, week by week, in Napoleon's house by his own wallpaper. So whenever Napoleon would be sleeping or resting in his bed, he would be breathing lots of arsine. And that is what killed Napoleon. Indeed, as the first forensic scientist found out, Napoleon was killed by arsenic, but he wasn't killed by anybody. He was killed by his own wallpaper, by the art scene delivered by his own wallpaper in his own bedroom. So I hope that this story show you how the combination of a professional assessment of crime scene combined with an efficient collection and filing of crime scene evidence and the final analysis of the crime scene allowed you to solve complicated forensic cases such as this one. And all these steps, again, from the crime scene assessment to the crime scene evidence collection and filing and forensic analysis, is what you guys will be learning and experiencing and practicing with us in our classrooms and laboratories. So I hope you find this useful to understand what we are doing in this forensic and criminal investigation course. I thank you for your attention, and I'm looking forward to starting working with you guys next September. And with this, I pass the line back to Andy. Thank you for listening.
Thank you for that, Fabio. I think that's a fantastic story and very interesting, and really does show off the things that you do get to experience as students on this program. We've now got an opportunity for any of you to pose any questions to either Fabio or myself. If you want to add them to the Q&A function within the Zoom facility, please do that now. So a common question that we get is, what's the difference between this course and the psychology and criminology course? And I think it comes down to which function of criminology you want to be involved in. This course is very much about working within the police force to solve crimes, to identify who did the crime, why they did it, and try and solve that and essentially catch the bad guys. Whereas the psychology and criminology course is more tailored at working in prisoner reform and helping people who have committed crime and stopping them from committing crime again, or crime prevention before crimes have ever happened to start off with. Another question we've had is, do you have to be good at photography? No, there's one unit that looks at forensic photography, and that takes you from basic like entry level. This is how to use a camera. These are the functions of a camera, to how you can take effective photographs of crime scenes to capture the evidence that's needed, and essentially the processes and techniques around doing that. So no, this isn't a photography course. There's one unit in how you can use forensic photography to provide part of the evidence towards a criminal prosecution, perhaps. Another question we've got is it a full-time course? Yes, it is a full-time course. There are around about 11 hours of contact time each week on the forensic investigation program, and with additional time if you're also doing a GCSE resit alongside it. So if you're doing a single GCSE alongside it, you'll probably be in college for about 14 hours a week of contact time. Another question we've got is, where would the course lead you to in the future? And it's asking specifically about either university or jobs. A lot of the students, as I mentioned earlier, will progress into university from a program like this, either studying forensic science or criminology or policing, anything from those sorts of areas. The course is, if there was one job role that it was particularly setting students up for and helping students progress into, it would be a forensic scene investigator within the police force. There are a number of different titles of that job role depending on which police constabulary you're working for. But a forensic scene investigator is essentially the role that this course is very tailored towards. However, saying that, there's a huge number of transferable skills you get from this qualification, and the fact that you get to pick up both the traditional sciences and the social sciences alongside it work very well. So another question we've got is, do you have to do laboratory work as well as the photographic part? The photography element of this course is one module in the second year. The first year of the course is heavily science-based. So probably about 75% of the first year is specifically science-based curriculum with some forensic investigation work. The photography element is one of the modules in year 2 and complements the work around providing evidence towards crime scenes, which is part of the forensics aspect, but also the criminology and social science elements. Interviews are taking place, they're starting in a couple of weeks' time, and they'll be continuing for the remainder of the year up until the course starts next September. We encourage applications to come in earlier rather than later, because sometimes we're in a situation where there's a limit to how many students we can take on programs. But also it means we're in the best position to give you the right advice and guidance. The earlier you're given course offers, hopefully the more motivated you are to do well on your current programs. And if those of you at school who are doing GCSEs this year, hopefully knowing you've got an opportunity to come onto an exciting program like this will help motivate you to do even better in your schoolwork this year and do better in your exams. Another question I've got is, would I be better doing this course or an applied science course if I wanted to study forensic science at university? I don't think there's necessarily a right answer to that. Both of those pathways, either the applied science or the forensic investigation course, are about creating options and providing opportunity. It's very much about where you're going to be most motivated to study. The applied science course does provide a stronger basis of science, which would lead into a good level of laboratory science skills to make you really stand out in a university setting if that's where you wanted to go. However, this course has got other elements around criminology and social science, which our traditional applied science course doesn't have. So if you were looking to use that forensic science in a policing role long term, this would be a better pathway for you. So we'd be happy to have specific conversations with people in interview if you're not quite sure. And you can change your mind between both of those two programs very close to the starting point of those courses as well. So if you're still undecided when you get towards September, we can help you change your offer from one to the other if that's the right thing for you. The earlier you have the conversations with us, the better. Another question we've got is, do you have to find your own placement? We encourage all of our students to do work placements on their programs. It's part of the program study to do 30 hours in year 1 and in year 2. On this program, we do have some good links within the West Midlands Police that we can help steer you towards to try and get some relevant work experience alongside this program. However, we always encourage our students to use their own connections and own initiative to try and find the most relevant placement for where they're at. And they can ask our work experience coordinators in the college for guidance and support with making applications for work experience placement. We have a few guest speakers on this programme, in particular Rich, who Fabio's mentioned earlier, is a senior member of the West Midlands Police Constabulary, and he does a number of guest talks on this programme to really provide the real life policing side of the course to the students. We also have plans, although they're on ice at the moment because of the restrictions in the world to put trips in place. For example, visiting courtrooms is something we're really encouraging. Was really keen to do really for the second year of the programme. There's another question around uniforms. This programme doesn't have any uniforms for it. However, when you are in the laboratory, we provide you with laboratory equipment. So we will provide you with a laboratory coat and any other PPE that's required for the practicals that you're going to undertake. So another question is around how does college science differ to school? I think that's a really good question because quite often on traditional qualifications, the practical element of science is very much about completing a practical to get a result, because that's the journey, it's just completing a practical. However, we focus within our school on having very high skill in those laboratory settings as well. So if you move in the future into a role where you try to compete for a role in an applied laboratory setting, you can stand out in that job market. So when you're in a laboratory, you're working as a skilled practitioner. You haven't just followed a worksheet and got to the end. And the accuracy of what you've been doing doesn't matter too much. It matters a huge amount. So we spend a lot of time helping students develop those technical skills and giving them feedback on it and giving them lots of opportunity in the laboratories. So another question is about the balance between practical and theory. We think across all of our qualifications, about 30% of the programme is practical and about 70% is more theoretical and classroom based. So we have another couple of minutes if there are any other questions anybody's got, so please put them into the Q&A now. Thank you. We've just been asked, why would you choose this over doing a traditional A-level package? Well, I think it comes down to what you want to achieve long term. For some students who are approaching or considering doing A-levels, if you were predicted A's and A stars in your A-levels, so you're getting 8s and 9s across the board in your GCSEs, and you wanted to go and study medicine long term, the only way to go and study medicine is by following an A-level suite of science qualifications, and that's exactly right for that person who meets that description. But for most students who are perhaps getting 6s and 7s in their GCSEs, their predicted grades in an A level would be around about a C grade, and we've found over a number of years that the students that come here with that kind of profile of a GCSE entry leave our programs with distinctions right throughout their program from the first day. And that's because we continually assess students throughout the course, and that helps with engagement, that helps with managing the workload, and means you've got a variety of assessment types. It's not just exam based. So students generally do a lot better on hybrid qualifications like this, where you've got some coursework element and some exams, than if you sat a traditional A-level type qualification where it's all exam based at the end of 2 years. So the last point from me really is that, hopefully later this year there'll be few restrictions on social interaction, and we hope to be able to open our science labs up later in the year for you to be able to come in and have a go at some of the things that we do, meet us in person. But I hope you all take take care and stay safe. Thank you very much for coming this evening.